Okay, tonight we're going to break off from the norm. I'm going to do another one of my how-to projects, but this one's going to be a little fun one. One of the things that I remember when I was a kid, a gajillion years ago, was my mother had this Spanish velvet painting. It hung on our wall for years, and it plugged into the wall, and it actually had lights where the street lights were, and weirdness like store shops and all that stuff. This is circa 1960s, early 1970s, late 1960s. When we got here for this country, we got here in 1969, and we had this thing hanging on our wall since then. I don't know what happened to it. It's burnt or whatever. We lost it at Woodstock, who knows. But one of the things that we just recently discovered in a thrift store was this iconic beauty. Oh, here. This is a circa 1970s velvet toreador with bull. Now, you can't see them, but they're here. There are little holes poked through, and when we got this, the lights had already been ripped out, but there are specific holes made in the velvet, and it goes through the backboard, like for street lights, and which I am glad that I finally saw it and found it. The bull's eyes have holes in them, toreador's pants, and his arms. Like I said, there's supposed to be some lights, but back in the 70s there was no such thing as colored lights. There were white lights, and basically this whole thing just lit up in the background. Like the one that I remember as a kid wasn't this big. It was just a street scene, and the street lights lit up and the storefronts lit up. But we found this little guy, $14.99 at Goodwill. Can you believe it? And I promised the wife, because she wanted an authentic 1970s velvet light-up art, which I have no idea what they called it, but there was a gajillion of them, because I remember even my grandmother had one, that we would go ahead and light this thing up. I had to wait. I'm going to put this down, because I had to wait until we actually got, this thing is heavy too, around Christmas time, and Walmart finally started putting out their Christmas lights, because I wanted to do LEDs. LEDs were very, very inexpensive. They run forever and they never burn out. They're out. Walmart has them. This was $4.95, $5 with some change in tax. It's a 20-count light, and the best part about this is I looked on the back and it said timer, and I'm like, timer? Cool. Here it is. 20-count lights, 20 LEDs altogether. Now, the one thing that I do want to tell you is go ahead and buy two, because if not, this has 4 sets of lights, it's 20, so it's 5 lights, 4 count each. Yellow, green, orange, blue, and red. Okay? Now, it's going to look kind of weird when you're doing this if you have one street light green, one blue, one orange, and then going up and down his arms. So, buy 2, strip the lights out of the other one, and keep it as a spare. The nice thing about this is this runs on 3 AAA batteries. I'm not going to do it with the batteries because they will eventually die. But if I flip this over, it has an on-off switch, and then it says timer. Now, very basic. You flip it to timer, this thing will run for 6 hours, and then off for 18 hours. So you can let it run through the night and then turn itself off 6 hours later. Or you can just run it continuously. I am not going to use the batteries. I am going to switch to a wall transformer. 3 batteries, 1.5 volt each, combination, put them all together. What do you got? 4.5 volts. I dug through my junk in my garage and I found a 4.5 volt transformer. This came out of an answering machine. So they're out there. You can find them at thrift stores, you can go to Radio Shack, you can do whatever. Do not over exceed the power that this little guy requires. If this is looking for 3 AAA batteries at 1.5 volts each, do not put a 12 volt transformer. You will blow up the timer, because remember, this is going to power the timer and the lights. The nice thing about it is it's DC power, so you can work with it with the power applied. And I'm going to turn it on right now. There are my lights. Okay. Now, one of the things that I'm going to do when I put this back onto the painting is I'm going to move the lights around. These are DC, as you can see. I've got one out, but the rest of the string is still working. They're in parallel. So you can take the lights out and move them around. As you can see, my little pile of spare bulbs sitting here that I'm going to use to move them around, because what I'm going to do is when I show you the painting, I want specific. I want his leg one color. The bull's eyes are definitely going to be red. The street lights are going to be one color. So we're going to go. You're going to need some basic tools. Meter to find out the polarity of the wires once you get them done. Screwdriver, cutters, a marker to mark your painting, which I will show you later. We no longer need the box. Warranty is void anyway because I've already moved stuff around. A soldering iron, some solder, and I'm going to use a staple gun to put the cables back on the painting. First things first, we are going to take apart. I've already taken the battery compartment out. Now I'm popping open this little guy right here. I've got 3 batteries in there which I'm going to take out, and everything goes dead. And some of the things. You don't have to be a rocket scientist in order to do what I am going to do next, but it helps. Okay? If I can get my lovely wife who's running my camera, this is so much easier when you have an assistant. I love my wife. Okay? If you look in here, you see that there is a little wire that's kind of hidden off in there. That's a little screwdriver to pop it out. Okay. Here is my timer unit. This little wire comes out and it's hooked up to a plate. Okay. And what we're looking for here is a series connection of batteries. So this is going to be positive. How do I know that? Because the negative end of the battery goes here, and that's tied directly to the circuit board. So you go from negative to positive, negative to positive, negative to positive. Here is my positive end. Okay, I am going to leave those terminals in there in case I ever do want to use this little guy as a DC with battery source. Leave the timer in there. So the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my timer, or my transformer. Okay, and I've got a power supply down here, coming back out, plugging her in, around, feel the power. I've got my 2 wires. I take my meter. Put it on voltage. I'm not going to go into the operation. How do you work a meter? How do you do this? How do you do that? No. If you don't know how to work a meter, go on the internet. Put one on here and one on here, and it says negative 4.6 volts. So I know that this is my negative wire, because now I'm going to reverse them. 7.51. This is an unregulated power supply. It's 4.5 volts, but without a load on it, I'm getting a lot more voltage. I'm not worried about it because I know that this little guy is going to suck up exactly 4.5 volts. So, now I know that my cable with the stripe on it is my positive. My cable without the stripe is the negative. Verifying. Verified. So now what am I going to do? Well, first things first. Get this out of the way. We're going to take my soldering iron, which has been nicely warmed up and running away over there. Unplug your transformer. Not that I'm afraid that you are going to hurt yourself, but I'm afraid you're going to hurt the transformer if you short those wires. Now, what we're going to do first is, at this point I wish I had 3 hands. Okay. Tin the wire on the end here. Heat up the wire. As my old electronic teacher would say, heat the source, not anything else. And we're just going to put a little solder on the wire. That's just going to make life a whole lot easier when I attach it to devices on, like the timer. Heat the source. There we go. Okay. And I just need a little piece of it to hook it up. I'm not going to need a whole bunch. I'm just going to trim it here. Okay. Again, this is my positive end. My positive end is over here. So now all I'm really going to do is just put some more solder on here. Heat up the source. And now I'm just going to take the positive end, which has got a little bit of wire on there already, and I am going to go behind it and solder it in there. Get in there. Give it a little blow. Which it's giving me a hard time. I don't know why. So one of the things I'm going to do, since it's not soldering on there, I'll pull it out. Teach it to mess with me. One of the tricks of the trade that I used to use, since I don't have a little vise. Now I'll take my little tinned up piece right there. At times like this, I wish I was an octopus. A little cooling off period. Alright, there's my positive side. And I will just shove this right back in there. Okay. The negative side is a little bit more easier because it's already attached to the circuit board, so all I really got to do is trim this. Put a little bit more solder on it. And then we will attach there we go. Now, I am going to take my handy dandy little cutters here, and I am going to cut a little notch on the side. And I'm just going to shovel my wire in there and just put my wire through the notch. So now, when I put all these wires back in here and put the cover back on, I have my wires coming out the side. And tighten away. Do the other side. There we go. Alright, now, if everything works the way it's supposed to, when I plug this in, wow, check it out. There are my lights. Everything is working, and it works on the on position and also the timer position, so I know everything is working. I'm just going to check my voltage. It's dropped down to 4.5. So I am good. Now, that's done. I can put the battery cover back on. Tighten her up. It's like 4.9, so that's still going to be okay. Now, I am good to mount this, and I have permanent power, or if I decide to in the future, I can go ahead and put the batteries back in and use battery. That is that. We're going to stop filming here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the picture frame up and start hooking it. Here we are. Part 2. Now, what I did is I looked at the velvet painting on the front and I marked it on the back. It's like, these are my street lights, this is the Toreador's arm, his pants, the bull's eyes, and another set of street lights. And then what I did is we decided what color I wanted. Since we were limited to like 5 different colors, I went ahead and we're going to make his leg blue because it's kind of brownish, a reddish brown. Same thing with his arm. His arm is all going to be all green. We're going to make all the street lights orange. The bull's eyes are definitely red. So I got those marked out and I did set it up the way that I wanted to. And this just needs to hang back here. So what I'm going to do for right now is, very important, you're going to need a staple gun of some sort. This is a T25. There's T25, T18, and T50. The T50 has square staples. This one has rounded staples. They look like a little U. They're designed for wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little box here, and I'm running with it with the power on because I want to see what I'm doing. And for now, I'm just going to go ahead and just staple the power wire to the frame. Right in my stomach. No, I'm kidding. Okay. And there it is. Now, one of the things that you're going to need, don't use a hammer because you could damage the cable, is I'm just going to go ahead and tap it down a little bit. Okay. That's going to hold it into place. And then what I'm going to do is I'll do the same on this side. And I will leave all that stupid paperwork on. Don't put this in water. And I'll just go ahead and stick it. The nice thing what I'm doing is with the power applied is because if I short it out, it's DC power. It's not going to hurt me, but I'm going to know if I screwed up the wire. That'll pretty much hold the box into place. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is, of course, it's going to be a blue for his pant leg. And already I kind of screwed up because, oh, one thing that I want to show you is, I'm glad that that happened. There are 17 holes. I've got 20 lights, so that's 3 that I'm not going to use. These are DC. If there is a problem, like I need a little extra cable here, pull out one of the LEDs. You don't have to use that one. Just leave it off to the side. So the first one is going to be my first blue for the pant leg. Just stick it through the hole. It's not going to go through. The LED is probably not even going to stick out the other side. It's just going to like sit here in the hole. So what I'll do is I'll double up on the wire, put it right below it. I'll take the staple gun and just gently staple it in. My wife just did a big sigh, and then I'll put my finger on the other side to make sure I didn't go through the velvet. No. Okay. And that's just going to hold it into place there. You don't need super force to hold it in. It's just a staple that's going to hold it in. I mean, if you want to go ahead and give it a little tap so that the cables don't move around, go right ahead. Just be careful, don't go through the velvet. Okay. The next one is also going to be another blue. And this one I'm going to staple on the other side. Okay. Now the next light that I have here is a green. Let's hold this one down as well. You don't have to use staples, by the way. You can go ahead and use tape, whatever. I'm going to pull the green out. And replace it with the blue. Stick it down here. And this one I can do a double wire. Always inspect your cables and make sure that it doesn't come out. Okay, now we're going to tighten her up and we'll stick it in the hole. There we go. Right. You're going to do that all throughout. When you're doing it, just space out your cable. And I already know that I'm going to have to add some wire to this because I can go here, and then I can go here, and then I can skip one or two and go here, and then skip my last ones and do the arm. But I'm going to need to get my last 3 over there, so I'm going to need to add a wire to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to that point, and then I'll come back and show you what we do. We're back. I ran into a problem, and if you can see the back of this, you're going to see that it's changed considerably. Originally, I had the LED stuck straight into the hole, and I had a staple holding the wire. I did a quick test and I looked at it. The LED stuck all the way through the velvet, was super duper bright, looked stupid as hell. So what I ended up doing is I flattened the LED onto the backing, and then I held it in place. Oh, this one's going to do right here. And I held it in place with a piece of tape. I've got my tape already pre-cut. When you do this with the tape, tape the base of the LED so you can move it around so that it covers the hole, and then tape it into place like that. Then take another piece of tape and cover the LED, because what will happen is the tape is shiny. It reflects the light through the hole. It doesn't look like there's a light sticking through the hole, and it looked pretty cool. I'm going to take this and put one right here to hold it down. Like that. Now what I ended up doing is after that I went ahead and put just regular old masking tape just to make it look pretty, because I didn't want all this tape hanging out. If this was outside, the tape would fall off in a couple of days. It's inside, so I'm not worried about it. What I ended up doing here is after I got all my black tape down and I got all my wires with the way that I wanted to, I just took some of this masking tape. And believe you me, if I had duct tape, I would be showing you duct tape right now. But I am out of duct tape. I am going to be hauled off the Homeowners Association of Handyman Club, and I will not be allowed to come back until I get at least 10 rolls of duct tape in my garage. Okay, and I just did this. Really, the only purpose that it serves is it just looks pretty, and I don't have wires flopping around. Okay, now I also, excuse me, I also ran out of lights, cable, wire, whatever. I needed to go from this side to this side. So what I did is I cut the 3 out and I added a piece of wire. And I am going to show you what I'm going to do. I've already gone ahead, I stapled the wire to the wood, and we're going to just attach it. I'm going to turn the lights back on. You can't see anything because of course, you know, it's covered in tape. I will strip the wires on this. I left these 2 lights out on purpose. Underneath that wire. You can attach this any way you want. I'm going to use an old alarm connector, and I'm just going to temporarily touch it. Yes, my lights came on. These are polarized, positive and negative. So if you hook them up backwards and you're not checking as you're going along, you'll finish, tape it all up, and realize that some lights aren't working because you hooked them up backwards. Okay, so I'm just going to use this connector. This connector is a little white connector. It's got insulation on it. It's got metal on the inside. When you crimp it, it crimps the wire along with the connector. And I'm going to do this. And just, we'll put it over here, and I'll put a piece of tape on it. For now, I'll cover it up with the other tape in a second. And now I can continue with my lights. You can leave them on at this point because it doesn't really matter. There it is over the hole. Tape the base once you've got it over your hole. And then here's my last one. Tape the base. And I've got my tape pre-cut over here, but I'm going to run out of tape in a second. Over the light. We're almost ready to turn this puppy over. Where's my scissors go? Oh, there they are. This ended up, check out the spider. Came out of the picture. Yes, he's ticked off that I'm messing with his picture. Yeah, we're going a little way. The wife is giving me the high sign. The spider must die. I am not going to kill it on camera because I know what the Animal Protection Agency will do to me. So let us just say that we're going to leave the little... Okay, the spider must go, and must go soon. Well, we're going to tape it up. Alright, we're going to tape this up. I'm going to go ahead and just tape up the rest of it, and then we're going to go ahead and do the unveiling. No, the spider's not going to be killed. The spider will be right there, and will stay there for the rest of its life. Here we are, the final step. I went on ahead, taped it all up, cover everything nice and neat, and put this tape on the power supply unit, and we are good to go for the unveiling. And let's see what this looks like. Oohs and ahs will be appreciated.
Ooh, ah.
I don't even know what it looks like. I'm behind the darn thing. There's my bullfight. Let me turn on the lights. Actually, let me do these lights so I can do this. Okay. Here it is. And as you can see, the LEDs are behind, but they're not. Oh, what happened to one here? One's not working, or it fell down. I'll have to fix that. But you can see the lights are behind there. The tape kind of brings the light forward. I've got all blue on his leg, green on his arm, 2 red bull eyes, and orange across the lights. And here we have a 1960s semi-modernized with LEDs light. So there it is, my velvet bullfighter from the 1960s with modern lighting. That's it for this one. I'll take a picture and stick it up there. All right, goodbye.